This is another Infosol production.
You know, women all around the world have used sex strikes to create social change. And sex strikes essentially are a form of resistance, often used to meet political, social, or economic goals. Even though the effectiveness is usually contended, abstinence strikes offer those who use them, in the majority of cases women, an alternative platform to advocate for social justice. The women in Liberia helped end a 14-year civil war that killed over 250,000 by staging a sex strike in 2002. Lima Gui, who won a Nobel Peace Prize for leading the efforts, helped band Christians and Muslim women together to refuse sex to their husbands until the violence and the civil unrest subsided. Calling for an immediate ceasefire, the group persuaded the president of Liberia to engage in peace talks with Ghana, eventually leading to the end of the civil war in 2003. The group's revolutionary efforts are featured in an award-winning documentary called Pray the Devil Back to Hell. Also in Colombia, September 2006, the wives and the girlfriends of gang members from the Colombian city called Pereira launched a 10-day cross the legs movement with the intentions of curbing gang violence. It was as many as 488 murders that were reported in the city during 2005, with 90% of the dead gang members aged 14 to 25. According to surveys, gang members' favorite activity was having sex, with gang association being more about the power and sexual seduction than money. Women incentivize their men to hand over the guns with the motto, violence is not sexy. Though it's hard to determine whether their efforts had any lasting impacts, Pereira had a 26.5% decrease in their murder rate by 2010. In Kenya, on April 29, 2009, 10 Kenyan women's organizations invited women to abstain from sex in order to end disputes between the president and the prime minister. Thousands of women took part, and in 1 week, the strikes pushed for long-lasting reforms, including efforts to relieve droughts and food shortages. The protest was successful in starting a dialogue between the two officials. In the Philippines in 2011, basically the women said, when your town is plagued with decades worth of violence and rebellion, you take matters into your own hand. And in 2011, that pretty much led to a group of Filipino women from Mindanao Islands withholding sex from their partners to curb fighting between two villages. The move was strategic. The local roads between the villages was closed, preventing women from traveling and transporting goods and thus earning a sustainable income. When the keys to the bedroom were locked, the men shaped up fairly quickly. Within weeks, the road was safe for travel. In the US, Spike Lee did a movie called Chirac that really motivated women to do sex strikes or advocate for sex strikes in real life. Alright, spoiler alert for the movie Chirac. If you haven't seen it, you need to cut this off. Basically, the girlfriend Tayona Paris of the Chicago gang leader, which was played by Nick Cannon, persuades other frustrated women to abstain from sex until the men agree to end the senseless cycle of violence. A sister named April Lawson of Chicago says she was inspired by the Chirac movie after witnessing hundreds of black men camped out to buy the Nike Air Jordan sneakers amidst the Chicago's worsening criminal violence. Today, Chicago's shooting victims total tops like 3,100 so far in 2016. That 3,100 is 300 more than the number of people shot in all of 2015. And just to get to the raw facts, that is 2,588 shooting incidents so far this year, resulting in 3,173 people being shot. And that's directly according to the data compiled from the DNA info from the Chicago Police Department and Illinois State Police. Mayor Rahm Emanuel followed up that announcement with a speech focusing on the public safety that also included announcements on new mentoring programs. We cannot afford to lose another generation to gangs like the Vice Lords, Gangster Disciples, and Latin Kings, he said. The deck has been stacked against the kids, and it's time we reshuffle the deck and put our kids on the top. And this prompted April Lawson to go ahead with her pledge for peace in the streets. She basically said, until an official treaty is signed and an actionable plan is in place by all black men who live in this city, I take a vow of celibacy, she said. I vow to refuse sex to any man I'm dating, engaged to, or married to until the perpetrators of these heinous crimes are brought to justice. She also vowed to keep my affections for men vocal, spirit-filled, and non-sexual until all children on the South Side are safe to play outside of their doors. She said, I vow to stay celibate until black men organize and create a strategy to keep the peace in our neighborhoods. All men must take responsibility to take back their communities and behave as global citizens who patron their own streets until every block in every neighborhood can all breathe again in ease. Until all men in every neighborhood take a solemn oath that they will stay proactive instead of passive. I will remain vigilant to the cause. She basically said, gentlemen, the candy stores are officially closed. We are on strike, the panties up, skirts down, let the lockdown begin. Now, why am I saying this? Basically for the same reason I said before. I mean, we have to create the new alpha male of the 21st century. And that new alpha male is going to have to be able to compete in the global markets of tomorrow. And this is going to basically exclude a lot of the men of lower IQs, that men that can't compete, the degenerates in the neighborhood. It's just, I mean, you just can't make babies with these guys. It's going to ruin the gene pool. Also, let's name 5 other reasons why black women may want to have a sex strike. 5, black men are not promoting positive images of black women in media. Okay, now this is tricky because I don't want them to confuse this with, fellas who are trying to advocate for you to be more accountable for your actions, because that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is these media conglomerates that are making millions off of perpetuating negative black women stereotypes, like the Real Housewives of wherever the hell, a lot, even some of the rap music, anything that basically makes black women look like fools. Tyler Perry is great at making black women look like complete idiots. That's what I'm talking about. And also, black men need to show a little bit more appreciation for the hard work that black women do to raise some of these children all the way along. And this is not assuaging them of any bad decision making on their part. It's just about picking up the pieces and making the best of situations wherever you can. I mean, black men can act like we live on an island all we want, but at the end of the day, we're going to be faced with these same criminals tomorrow whenever we raise our kids to meet their kids. So it's a cycle. Also, black men are not building and providing for black women and children with safe, high standard, high quality places to live like other men are doing for their women. 2, black men are not honoring black women with exclusive monogamous commitments as well. This is big, fellas. We gotta quit the cheating and the low integrity stuff. Like, we have to. 1, black men want the benefits of sex, but not the responsibilities of commitment. All right. So if you can't pay, then you don't need to play. All right. And at the end of the day, black men who cannot step up, who cannot take charge, who cannot lead and build high quality, better communities for black women and children don't need to be procreating anyways. It don't matter what the excuses are. These men are weak and their progeny shouldn't be passed on to the next generation. Simply put, we have to build the 21st century alpha male of tomorrow. Intelligent mate selection and high IQ strong black men in these homes. Peace.
Fossil God.
This is an original instrumental. Soulful music.